We have some confusion about Pac-Mom. People in the chat talking about Pac-Mom. That's a good question. Who is Pac-Mom? That is the question of the night. Is she Pac-Man's mom? Is she Pac-Man's girlfriend who's also a mother? Is she just a random person that's not related to Pac-Man that's Pac-Mom? I don't know. And now Junior Pac-Man is called Pac-Boy. Is he Pac-Man's son? Is he Pac-Mom's son? Is he just a random boy that is around? It's just like, hey, I'm the boy. Here comes the Pac boy. Who's Pac sis? That's supposed to be baby Pac-Man. Now it's Pac sis. Who is she the sister of? Pac boy? Pac-Man? Pac-Mom? A lot of questions. But Professor Pac apparently is still cool. I guess Namco has him. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, there's a whole licensing issue with Miss Pac-Man. Here's how it breaks down. Miss Pac-Man was made by other people. It was not made by Namco. General Computer Corporation, who made Crazy Otto, which eventually became Miss Pac-Man, worked with Bally Midway to release the game Bally Midway, who published the Pac-Man games in the US, but didn't involve Namco, who developed the Pac-Man game in Japan. But what I read last, supposedly, allegedly, Namco was going to try to work something out to get Miss Pac-Man into the family. But from what I recall, At Games, the company At Games that makes those home consoles that you just plug and play, you know, they did that Genesis one a while back, to the point where Genesis was like, let's just make our own. They apparently made like a Miss Pac-Man thing. And I guess somehow through that, they were able to get the license to Miss Pac-Man. So if anyone wants to use Miss Pac-Man, you gotta pay them. And Namco's like, no. Miss Pac-Man is a part of a video game culture. She is the first lady of video games. Literally one of the first female characters I've ever played in a video game. So she means a lot to me. I mean, I like Pac-Man the character, but as far as the actual video games, Miss Pac-Man is dominant. Miss Pac-Man, focus on Miss Pac-Man. Focus on her. Miss Pac-Man. That's not focused enough. There it is, Miss Pac-Man. So it's a bummer that you don't see her in any of the new stuff. Raina's delivery service asked me, didn't you also have a crush on her? How could you not have a crush on her? Have you seen her? Look at that body. Look at that face. Look at that personality. And she's a gamer. She's a perfect girlfriend. Pac-Man better, you know, he better put the ring on it. I don't see no ring on her finger. I mean, she's wearing gloves. Okay, Leon, you're correct. It's Miss Pac-Man, not Mrs. Pac-Man. I'm just saying, Pac-Man don't love you no more. He don't put you in your games no more. Miss Pac-Man, let's do something, you know? Take off that bow, take off them boots. Let's see what happens. Stop. Don't you dare talk nasty about Miss Pac-Man like that. She's a national treasure. She'd be ashamed. Anyway, you know what? Let me look it up. You know what? Because I want to make sure I'm accurate for you. I want to make sure I'm accurate for you because this is serious business. Let me look up this story. I'm very excited to teach you this Miss Pac-Man drama. So At Games allegedly misrepresented itself in negotiations with the original developers. All right. This goes back to 1982. A group of MIT students created an unauthorized enhancement kit named Crazy Otto for Bandai Namco's arcade hit Pac-Man. So that MIT group, which organized under the name General Computer Corporation, then reached out to US Pac-Man distributor Bally Midway to develop that modification into the officially licensed Ms. Pac-Man. Now, as part of the Crazy Otto licensing deal, GCC received the right to a perpetual royalty payment whenever a Ms. Pac-Man game was sold. Bally Midway retained the copyright and trademark rights to the game and its characters, which Bandai Namco eventually reacquired in the intervening years. Because we've seen Ms. Pac-Man in other games. She was in the original Pac-Man world. We're getting that repack with Pac-Mom. Miss Pac-Man will be grouped with some of the collections sometimes, or sometimes you have to pay extra for her. She was in Pac-Man 2. She's technically in Pac-Land, the original Pac-Land, even though that's based off of the cartoon Pac-Man where her name was Pepper. This is deep Pac-Man lore. Pay attention, everybody. I'm taking you to Pac school. Professor Pac is in the house. So according to a federal lawsuit filed by Bandai Namco, the company has been negotiating with the successors to that GCC deal in order to resolve the relationship the two companies had with the game, presumably to acquire the royalty rights under the Bandai Namco umbrella. So see, Bandai Namco and GCC were about to work something out. As Bandai Namco said, now this is their words, they were already trying to get in good with the people that owned the Miss Pac-Man licensing game to be like, look, Miss Pac-Man need to come back. Her and Pac-Man are in a relationship, they should be together. So let's work a deal out and Miss Pac-Man can be in everything we do. Like, that's how it was going to be, and that was the beautiful ending. That was the happy ending. But then At Games created the sad ending. Because that agreement was on the verge of being signed. Bandai Namco says, when At Games swooped in and acquired GCC's royalty rights for itself, DJ Skip Track said At Games came and stopped the wedding. That's right. Whitley Gilbert was about to get married, and then At Games, like Dwayne Wayne, just came in and was like, I love you, Whitley.
Whitley, I love you, and if you'll have me, I want you to be my wife.
What the hell are you doing?
Hey, I'm sorry, Byron, I love her.
Die! Just die!
Let him go, man. Will you have me, Dwayne, as your lawfully wedded husband from this day forth to having a whole and richer for poorer? Baby, please, please.
I do!
This is a lesson. Always read your contracts or have someone read your contracts for you that you can trust, because something must have been in there when they were making some Miss Pac-Man stuff at Games to be like, oh, and by the way, we have the rights to the character in the game as well. Oopsie. And so now Bandai Namco is like trying to bring Miss Pac-Man into the fold, and At Games is like, well, look who wants Miss Pac-Man. Well, guess what? At Games got that Games at Games, and if you wanna, you got to pay, brother. And that's when Bandai Namco was like, no, we don't. All we gotta do is change a bow into a hat, change some boots into some heels, and boom, Miss Pac-Man is now Pac-Mom. Don't hate the player, hate the At Games. All right, let's get back to the article. If you recognize At Games, it's probably not for good reasons. Damn, Ars Technica, you're supposed to be unbiased. The company has a reputation in the game industry for bargain basement retro hardware releases like the Sega Genesis Flashback console. So that was a console that came out before the Mini. Sega came out immediately and was like, no, we ain't doing that. We doing this from the ground up. No Flashback in this Mini. As we saw, the Sega Genesis Mini came out pretty good. At Games was also embroiled in controversy last year. Ooh, sent a misleading version of its Bandai Namco Flashback plug-and-play console to reviewers. That early review version contained authentic emulated arcade ROMs of a selection of Namco classics, but the final release contained only downgraded NES versions. Bandai Namco says it never approved the release of the NES versions and cites as an example of At Games' improper and wrongful conduct. So Bandai Namco says that At Games made at least one prototype Miss Pac-Man miniature arcade cabinet. Is it this one? That's not At Games, is it? Is My Arcade At Games? This one says My Arcades. They said that At Games made at least one prototype Miss Pac-Man miniature arcade cabinet using Bandai Namco's trademarks without the company's authorization, and showed it to at least one of the GCC successors as part of its negotiations. At Game has also allegedly been contacting retailers like GameStop and Walmart about selling that Miss Pac-Man cabinet without the involvement of Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco also believes At Games made false statements about its access to the IP. So in a letter obtained by Polygon, At Games' lawyer called Bandai Namco's lawsuit another transparent effort to punish At Games for entering into his August 2019 agreement with the GCC individuals to sully At Games' reputation, to disrupt At Games' business relationships, and to artificially manufacture leverage in the ongoing negotiation between the parties. To wit! You know you being serious when you say to wit. To wit! Bandai Namco Entertainment America is so irritated by the fact that At Games has entered into a contract with the GCC individuals, an arrangement Bandai Namco hoped to exploit for its own benefit through deceit and bad faith, that it has ordered its lawyers to attack At Games by any means possible. So At Games was like, nah, Bandai Namco knew what they were doing all this time. They knew what we were up to. They trying to act like they weren't up to it now because they're trying to weasel out from us. Dang! Yes, G-Rat said this is a lot to unpack. It really is. So At Games is trying to say, nah, Bandai Namco knew exactly what we were doing with Miss Pac-Man and everything else, because we already had a deal with them back in 2019, but now they're trying to get out of it, so they're trying to act like we did something wrong. We ain't do nothing wrong. And Bandai Namco was like, nah, you didn't tell us about some of the stuff you was doing, making NES versions of our arcade things and trying to sell Miss Pac-Man off to GameStop and Walmart without us. Ooh. 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 This is all over Miss Pac-Man. That's what makes this funny. Usually I do not get involved in drama. I want calmness and coolness and no nonsense any day I can get it. But it's just hilarious to me to see two companies go wild fighting with each other with lawsuits over Miss Pac-Man, which you would just assume would be part of the Pac-Man family because of the name Miss Pac-Man, but apparently she ain't because some other people made her. And now we are in 2022 fighting over Miss Pac-Man to the point where Pac-Man Museum, which just came out, where's my game? Pac-Man Museum is out now, and Pac-Man World Repack is coming out. Both of these games should have had some Miss Pac-Man representation, but instead, she's out the game, and we got Pac-Mom. So if this lawsuit didn't happen, could have worked something out. We could have had Miss Pac-Man as part of this museum collection, and we could have had Miss Pac-Man in Pac-Man Repack. But instead, legal shit has put Miss Pac-Man in limbo, and this is sad to happen to one of the best video games of all time with the first lady of video games. It's sad. Doesn't it suck to have a woman have to deal with some legal battles from other people? I'm still talking about Miss Pac-Man, of course. So as the complicated case winds its way through the courts, it seems unlikely that anyone will be able to navigate the licensing issues at play and release any new official Miss Pac-Man products in the near future. Luckily for retro arcade fans, there are already a number of licensed Miss Pac-Man games still on store shelves. So if you already seen a Miss Pac-Man product and you want Miss Pac-Man in your life, go get it. They have some mini arcades of Miss Pac-Man. I have a couple of them. Grab them. And then of course there's the Miss Pac-Man on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Is this valuable now? Hold on, wait a second. This might be valuable now. I paid $15 for this in box. I might be able to get some more for this now. So we have an update on the lawsuit thanks to this Polygon article. It says that Bandai Namco still has full ownership and control of Miss Pac-Man as an intellectual property and can make products with her, but anything involving her in games, residuals still have to be paid to At Games. This article also states that the lawsuit was settled in November 2020, but as a part of that settlement, At Games still owns the royalty interest in Miss Pac-Man. So if you want to make a Miss Pac-Man game thing, you gotta pay At Games. So when Bandai Namco released Pac-Land as part of the arcade archives on the Nintendo eShop, that was the first time that Miss Pac-Man was out and Pac-Mom was in. Junior Pac-Man and Baby Pac-Man are a part of this too somehow. They've also been changed to Pac-Boy and Pac-Sis. Oh, now I see why. Junior Pac-Man was developed by General Computer Corporation. That's the same company that made Miss Pac-Man. That's why you can't use Junior Pac-Man. So Junior Pac-Man's off the market. You gotta call him Pac-Boy now. Oh, Baby Pac-Man was created by Bally Midway. And then there was a dog whose name was Chomp Chomp. Pac-Man in the cartoon had a dog named Chomp Chomp, so his name is now Pac Buddy. So there you go. So that's why you got Pac-Mom. This is not going to stop me from playing Pac-Man games. I already have Pac-Man Museum Plus and already been playing that. Pac-Man World Repack, gonna play that because I'm excited to play that game. And I'm gonna keep playing Pac-Man games because I love Pac-Man games. I'm just hoping that at some point, Miss Pac-Man can be part of the group, both the game and the character. But until then, I'm still gonna enjoy all the Pac stuff we get, games, merch, and Pac-cetera. Thank you, Ars Technica, for this article to let us know exactly what went down. I hope it all gets cleared up because Miss Pac-Man is a great game and I don't want that game or that character to be lost in limbo just because of some legal battle. That game needs to be out there. It's one of the best video games, arcade games of its time, of all time. And it's got one of the greatest characters of all time. Like I said, the first female of video games. And so it's kind of messed up.